Hello, I'm Earl Gibbes and welcome to this very special live edition of Speaking of Everything and Earl Gibbes Live. Now, we're streaming live on YouTube and on TV Carib, and it's the 1st of March, a very special day for me. 38 years ago, I was a very young man. When I started Speaking of Everything, it was half of a program. It still is a half of a program, and we also have Earl Gibbes Live that started 5 years later. So Earl Gibbes Live is 33 years, and Speaking of Everything is 38 years. When I started as a young man, I'm just checking, making sure everything is good here. As a young man, I never thought I'd be around for 38 years doing this. Sometimes people meet me and they say, "Wow, man, I can't believe you're still doing it. You're still doing it." And it was a Thursday night on the 1st of March, 1984, when this program was first aired. And at that time, we had only one television station in St. Martin. The internet wasn't even the way it is today. We had no cable TV. There was one television station, and this annoying new program come on air. And I must tell you, in the beginning, a lot of people didn't like it. I'll tell you why. You ever heard about the A-Team and Mr. T? Well, in those days, Mr. T was the thing. Everyone wanted to watch Mr. T. But what I did when I was organizing the program, I said, no, you know what? I'm going to use the carryover effect. Now, the carryover effect is that I'm going to come on before the other program, and all the people are sitting waiting for this very popular show. And then they're going to see my show. Well, guess what? A lot of people got really angry. They got impatient, sitting on a Thursday night waiting for the A-Team to come on after my show. And sometimes LBC will not stick to the schedule. So in terms of the time, they'll come on a little later. And I'm playing now in their time. That's the carryover effect. That's when I started back in 1984, the 1st of March. It wasn't easy in those days. We used to do the program in LBC TV. And I got a lot of response from people afterwards. People got to like it. And we continue. And before I continue, I have to tell you about tonight's sponsors, because this program is made possible by the Windward Islands Bank. That's right, the Windward Islands Bank in 3 locations, in Phillipsburg, Cul-de-Sac, and Simpson Bay. For all your banking needs, car loans, personal loans, you name it, it's the Windward Islands Bank. And GEBE, our local water and electricity company. GEBE, serving St. Martin for over 6 decades. That's GEBE, our local water and electricity company. And we're here celebrating 38 years of Speaking of Everything and 35 years of Earl Gibbes Live. And it's a little nostalgic for me, because when I started, there was one of the television program, Profiles of the Windward Islands. And so after that, it was Profiles and myself. And as the years went by, Profiles continue, I continue, and now they're gone, I'm still here. So 38 years later, it's just amazing. I'm really surprised. And what's making it even more surprising is that tonight, that we're streaming, and I'm doing it live on the internet, and we have a lot of things still to work out. And I know many of you know that for decades, I've been trying to get a broadcast license. Really, yeah, long time. Well, finally, we have that license. If I could pan the camera over there, I could show you, but I can't. But we have 2 locations, a radio station and the television part. And soon that radio station will be live. And then we will be jamming on the radio and streaming and everything with you. So there's a lot of things to come, and we're just excited to be a part of this. It took over 20 years, that's right, over 20 years just to get a broadcast license, and now we have it. And it's just amazing, because it's been so difficult just to get off the ground. So all of that is happening, and a lot of things. So in the next few months from now, we'll be streaming video, radio also live, and it's going to be great. I can't wait to see that. It's when I started speaking about everything, I was a single man. Now today I'm married with 3 beautiful daughters, and they're great. Caroline used to help me do this program at 4 years old. Imagine, she was 4 years old and she was switching cameras on Speaking of Everything. That's amazing. Some people say, oh, what's abuse? She loved it. She just liked to come with me and sit in the studio, and if the operator didn't show up, no problem. She would just hop in there and switch on the program. Amazing. That's my daughter Caroline. She's now a lawyer. And it's amazing what has happened over the years and how Simon has changed. Now we have to compete with so many different things. We have to compete with these devices, the phones, the internet, hundreds of cable channels. So we appreciate that people look forward to our programs over the years, and we're going to continue bringing that for you. When I started this program 38 years ago, now you got to remember I've been in broadcasting before that. In fact, I started in New York back in 1978 in radio. I can still remember my first time on the radio, and they laughed at me. I could never forget it. I'll give him over that when we start the radio part of this production sometime in a month or two. But when I started this program, I had 4 sponsors. I was preparing this show from December of 1983, and we started taping in February of 1984 for the first show to air on the 1st of March. And those 3 sponsors we had was Caribbean Palm on Front Street. We had Dun Cheese and Back Street. We had Carlos Heavy Equipment, Blocking, and Genius Record label. So, but I got a surprise for you before we continue. I got to check in on something, because I want to get in touch with someone if I can get them. And if I get them, it will be very interesting, because then I can have you hear what they had to say. Good evening. You there? Good evening, how you doing? You're on live.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm on live?
Yeah, you're on live on the air right now.
Oh, okay, good. Oh, thank you very much for having me on your program.
Well,
I appreciate that very much. Although I'm calling from Oak Bees, I'm not in St. Martin at the moment, but it's so nice to be on your program.
Well, you're a special person. You're one of the 4 special sponsors. Remember back in 1984, I came to you and I said, look, $75 for 1 spot, twice a month, and you said yes. You remember?
Yes, I do. I can remember that pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I just came back from the States, New York or somewhere. You just come back and you're starting the program, Speaking of Everything, and you tell me how hard it was for you to get sponsors, and the difficulty getting business places to sponsor local programs, any kind of programs, because when you look at it, business in St. Martin doesn't do any promotion apps, and that is not good at all for the economy and the island. And if I would be willing to, to donate, do a little sponsor with the program, and right away I said yes to, because I think it was something good to do.
Now, Mr. Richardson, people know you by a different name, right?
Yeah, people know me by Guy So Genius, a genius.
Right.
My real name is Victor Richardson.
Right. And at that time,
I do sing. I do sit. So sometimes.
Yeah. And what you remember the name of the business you had at that time, the record store on Back Street there?
Oh yes, that was the business that sponsors Speaking of Everything when you start.
Right.
It's Musical Fan Club. Genius
Musical Fan Club.
Fan Club.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you
I used to sell records. There was records, and there was tape and cassettes, and a lot of musical gadgets.
Right.
You know, the needle for head of the turntable, the brush to clean the records, things like that.
Right, right,
There
right.
was no CD. There was thing at that time. There was the records.
Yeah, those were the good days, huh?
Oh yeah, those days, like they say, anything you does not return. Those was the good days. You're not going again.
Well, I don't want to hold you too long because you're calling from overseas, and I don't think you want people to know where you are. But at least I want to thank you. I appreciate your support over the years. I hope we can have you when you come back on the radio and on television here with us. We'll be happy to have you and talk about your music. And you're one of the greatest calypsonians from St. Martin.
Well, I appreciate hearing that. You always tell me that. Right now, I'm also doing a recording. I should have something out on Carnival time.
Really?
You know, I already have my music finished. It's to put my voice onto the music. I have 2 songs that I produce in Trinidad, and I should turn my voice on. As soon as I get back to St. Martin, I'll play facts and have my voice onto the music.
All right, and then.
I'm not in Trinidad, and I'm not in St. Martin at the moment. The music, my hands are ready.
All right,
Yeah.
so when you get back.
When we start, it was me and Carlos for
Yeah.
Celebration Palace.
Right.
Carlos driving school. Carlos in service. And
Yeah.
Miss Lee's on the front street.
Caribbean Prom.
The Parliament building.
Yeah.
Yeah, we was the
And Dunchies.
speaking of everything.
And Dunchies also. Dunchies on Back Street also.
Right.
Yeah. So they're all four local companies. I always tell people that locals have always supported me. Not many of the foreign business, some, but very little. And that's unfortunate up to today, you know. So we have to stick together, support each other, but sometimes that's not what we do, unfortunately. Yeah.
It's a hard thing, but we have to keep the fight going.
Right,
Don't give up.
right.
Give up.
Anyway, thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Thank you again for being one of the first sponsors.
Success with your programs that you have, and especially of everything, one of my favorite programs, one of them that also for me, because when I advertised with you, I could see the difference when people start to come into the business. So it was good for me also.
Thank you. That's good. And if you have time, you can still watch the rest of this program on YouTube. All you have to do is type in Oral Gibbes YouTube, and you can watch it. So, all right. So if you want to follow us on YouTube, you can do that.
Okay, good. I'll do that.
Okay, good.
And like I said, appreciate what you did there, having me on the program. I appreciate that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Richardson. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Bye. All right. That was Mr. Richardson there, speaking from another country somewhere in the world, but he's not in St. Martin. I mean, I know where he is, but I can't tell you, right? Yeah, we had 4 sponsors. Mr. Richardson from his record store, Caribbean Prom in Front Street, that was Rena Williams and his mother, Aunt Liz. We had Mr. Dunchies on Back Street. Beach Islander was the name of the business from Dunchies, and we also had Carlos Heavy Equipment and Blocking, and so that's how we started. Now, I had a plan for speaking about everything at the time, and my plan was, I came back from America. I noticed no one was doing a sit-down talk show about issues. And I said, I want to do that, and I want to do it in a way that we cover a lot of things. But the main objective was educate, inform, and entertain. One of the biggest parts of Speaking of Everything was the end of the year program, man. We had the best dressed women in St. Martin. Let me tell you something. I remember a politician saying, he said, Oral Gibbes, you causing problems. You're causing problems because you got women going out, dressing up, buying clothes they can't even afford just to make your list. We did that for about 10 years, the best dressed women. That was incredible. We had a lot of fun doing that. It would be difficult that, you know, sometimes you do that and people get upset. They're like, how come I'm not there? And how come this person not there? You know, and it's amazing sometimes when I go back, I can't find all the pictures. You can see some of the women that would still make up that list. And then we also have the person of the year. And you can never please people. Everybody got who they want to be the person of the year. So things have changed in St. Martin. This is not the same St. Martin anymore like we know it. And we've come a long way, a real, real long way. But at the same time, we're going really backwards also. Because there are no television programs now in St. Martin. You know, there's just myself and Beverly and maybe one or two other programs that I know of, and we've gone really backwards, and that's a pity. There was a time when we had around 15 to 20 locally produced television programs in St. Martin, and after Hurricane Lewis, it became less, but after Hurricane Irma, it's really bad. Well, I hope it can come back. I hope that will change because, you know, you can say all you want. How you get your information. Local information is very important. And right now we only have, what, one newspaper? And even the newspapers are disappearing. And I'll tell you what, I wanted to stop this program. And I met a few people that said, you can't stop. Well, we need to have some information on television. There's not even any news anymore also on television, except to, I think, TV Carib that carries one on cable. But that's about it. There's very limited information. So our objective is to combine the radio and the television, make sure that we're there most of the times. One of the problems we have in St. Martin also is that there's very little reliability when it comes to telecommunications, energy. I don't want to say too much because people get upset, but that's a big factor. Over the weekend, we could not do anything for 3 days because we had no internet, and the technology has changed so much now. I'm looking at the upload speed, and it's what, a little over 6. And it's great, and I appreciate that. And I try to big up TLM because, you know, I've been a big critic of TLM over the years, and I must admit that speed is beautiful. I just hope it continue, and I hope they don't fall out like they did over the weekend for 2 or 3 days. When you look at St. Martin today, and you look at where we're going, you know, I told MP Westcott last week when she was here in the program with me that I'm kind of disappointed. I've gone through a lot of different interviews. I've interviewed Betico Cruz, I've interviewed most of the politicians in the former Nellis Antilles, a lot of local politicians, you know, and it's quite interesting because after 10-10-10, we all expected things to go great, and it haven't. I'm disappointed. I'm very, very disappointed because I really thought that the problems that we're having today, I don't think anyone expected that. But the way we deal with the problem, that's an issue for many people. You know, I was a real radical, you know. Believe me, we brought down governments with our television program. That's how powerful television is at the time. We put people in the political office with a television program. That's how powerful the media is. You know, in 1990, I did a live show, invited the 2 biggest politicians, the late Claude Watt and the late Vance James Jr. And guess what? Vance showed up. Claude didn't show up. And guess what happened? It was a 2-hour live call-in television program. And for 2 hours, Vance sat there, took all the questions, took all the calls. And the next day, he won a seat in Parliament. Before that, they never had a seat in Parliament, okay? They never had a seat. But after that night, people who never voted for Vance James Jr. said they're going to vote for him. Guess what? That was 1990. By 1994, the same government took me off the air. So I've learned my lesson too. It's amazing. Politics is a funny thing. You help a political party get into power. In this case, that show advanced it. I have letters. They sent me congratulations. He self wrote me a letter thanking me. But then they forgot 3 years later that you're the same person because you're saying something that they don't like, or you're giving a platform to someone that they don't like. And when you do that, oh, they forgot all the good things you did. You're only as good as your last show. And after that, be careful, or else they'll cut your throat. And that's what they did in '94. They just took me off the air because they was powerful, they was in Parliament, they had a minister there that could do it, and they did it. And I fought, and I fought. I had fights on both fronts, with cable and with the government, 2 different law firms to handle the case for me. I never knew I was that strong. There's a reason why I'm telling you this, because a lot of people think, they look and they say, oh, Oral Gibbes, they're doing they don't know what I went through. They don't know the challenges. They don't know my position for people's freedom, what we have done over the years. When people got arrested wrongfully, their family will come to me. Yeah, that's right, they'll come to me and see what I could do for them. That's how powerful the media was in St. Martin. I remember there was a gentleman here from the Dominican Republic. He was a security at the airport. He was arrested. His wife was crying. She came to me crying. At that time, I was living in an apartment there on L.B. Scott Road. And my wife still remember that. And she was crying because she couldn't get any help. And I contacted the governor. And it was resolved 2 days later. And he was released, and he went back to the Dominican Republic. There's so many cases that we did to help people on this island. It's just amazing. And that's where we get the most joy from, helping people, making sure that you know what's going on in your country. It's becoming more difficult, very, very, very difficult now, because it's not 1984. It's not 1990. It's a whole different ball game now. We had the referendum. We had 2. The last one was in June 24th, 2000. Both referendums, I voted for political independence because that's what I believe in, political independence. I still believe in political independence. If I jump back to 1988, the late Claude, when he wanted to make an announcement, it was on this program that he did it. He made that announcement in December because we taped the show on the 28th of December, and it aired January 4th of 1988, when Claude said, I want full political independence for St. Martin. Boy, that was, I think, I'm going to say something here, and this is just what a lot of people said to me at the time. That was the biggest mistake Claude made. Why? Here you had a very powerful, powerful leader saying to the masses, the people of St. Martin, on this program, he wanted political independence for St. Martin. It angered a lot of people in St. Martin, and it angered a lot of people across the ocean in Europe. And, the thing is that today, we are still talking about it. But let's go back, because I want to just take you down a little memory lane, but I go back and forth. So bear with me. 88, January, Claude calls for political independence. By 1991, the Dutch government put enormous pressure on Claude after that very famous speech of November 11, 1991. That was the end of Claude as we know it. And that scared a lot of politicians, because after that, with the airport scandal and all other things, Claude was picked up. People surrounded the aircraft at the airport, wouldn't allow it to leave. He came out and said, look, go home. And the people went home, and he was taken into custody in Curacao. All of those videos we have, and we're going to share them with you when we increase our production in terms of the radio and television combined. We're going to show you a lot of history, a lot of things you're going to see. I, as I said earlier, voted for political independence. And I can remember the night when the call from The Hague, again on this program, okay? I think it was October, November 2006. Very excited. I remember Mr. Sarah Westcott Williams calling to say that they had accomplished. They had accomplished what they went to the Netherlands, her and Mr. William Martin. And October 10, 2010, St. Martin became a country in the Kingdom of the Netherlands. Now, being a country in the Kingdom of the Netherlands is a great thing. It's still short of political independence. And here we had our leaders now fooling people, call themselves a country. Some saying we're not a country. Some saying we're a colony. We are still confused up to today. Today, the Parliament met with one of the foundations who are advocating political independence. This is a small island. I still believe we can be politically independent. People say, yeah, no country in the world is independent. Yes, that is true. But if you read my lips, I said political independence. We need to get there. And at the same time, how we get there is going to be very crucial, because a lot of people are now using it for the wrong reason. Now we have politicians who never supported political independence, but they want political independence now. Why? Because the Dutch is riding their back, and they want to get that monkey off their back at all costs. And I said, no. It doesn't work like that. We're not going to go for political independence because you want a Dutch monkey off your back. No, it doesn't work like that. And we have politicians who sit in the tower manipulating and controlling the government. It's very difficult for me to sit here tonight on this 38th anniversary of television programming in Simran that I've done and don't address these issues, because this is how I started. Speaking my mind. Speaking about the things that I think are wrong, and giving people a platform to express themselves. And I can't stop now. It will be extremely difficult for me. But we have the strangest government now. They're fighting with the Dutch government, then they're sticking out their hand for money, and when they get the money, they're fighting them. It doesn't work like that. And I always wonder, why has it been so difficult for this island and the Dutch government to work more closely together? You know, we're a small island. There's so many things we can learn from Holland. If you've ever been to Holland, it's amazing. Holland is a leader in agriculture, a leader in the world in agriculture. We can tap into that. And we're not doing it. You know? All we are hearing is that we need to get away from Holland. And now we have political parties who did not campaign on independence, by the way. They did not campaign on independence. And today now, they're the biggest mouth in the country. Okay? They're talking about colonialism. They're going to the United Nations without a mandate from the people. Without a mandate from the people. That's wrong. You can't go through the back door. You didn't run on a platform. That was not your platform. So you can't do that. And I've never heard none of my colleagues or no one speak about it. And I'm saying it tonight. I'm saying it because it's wrong. The Up Party, in what they're doing now, they should stop. They did not get elected to do that. They got to go back to the people and ask the people they want to do that. Not individuals trying to advance for their own cause because they're angry with the Dutch government. They're angry that someone got locked up or in prison or being investigated. So because someone is locked up, being investigated, now all of a sudden now, we want political independence. It doesn't work like that, my friend. It doesn't. And that's unfortunate. That is unfortunate because they're taking us down a slippery road, and that's not good. Not good at all. So I'm just checking my time here and making sure I got everything up. But we're halfway through, almost halfway through. I'll tell you what, we're going to go to a break, and when we come back, we're going to continue speaking right here on Oral Gibbes Live, Speaking of Everything, 38 years of television.
In order to know what you want out of life, you need to observe, listen, and try it yourself. Promises, we can make it. If we work together, that's just how it is. Let's stand strong, and serve the land. Working hard as one nation, yes we can. The more difficult it is to achieve, the more satisfying it is to make it. Just believe in us, we'll see you through it all. Oh, never give up. Oh, never give up. We can make it. Never forget those who were there for you. And if you dream big, you might just achieve it. The power to serve, standing for community. Oh, GEB, got the power to serve, the power to serve. We got the energy. Oh, GEB.
Make use of Web Mobile Banking with easy access and direct usage of face recognition, PIN code, or fingerprint. Download Web Mobile Banking app and make your transaction from anywhere at any time. For more information, visit.
You're watching Oral Gibbes Live, Speaking of Everything, March 1st, celebration of 38 years. On the 1st of March, 1984, I started Speaking of Everything. Very young man, eager to go out and conquer the world. And I'm still here. 38 years later, a lot of gray hair, much older. And it's always a pleasure to just be here with you. You know, as I was telling you before the break, we cannot have people running on a list, political party list, asking you for their support and not telling you that what their platform is. And then abusing that by getting elected and then going to Parliament and going to United Nations when that was never their platform. So we have to be very careful. And I hope that my colleagues in the media will be brave enough to really pose those questions to those in Parliament who are pushing that. But what has changed in St. Martin is that we had Claude Waddy. Claude Waddy was the man. If you wanted a job, you just go to Claude. He write a little note and he said, please give Mr. Johnny Bulubuch a job. And he said to Johnny Bulubuch, you take this piece of paper to business X. And when you go by business X better give you a job. You can't say he's not going to give you a job, huh? That was power. That was power. Some people say that was corruption. No, it was power. This is a small island in the 80s, 70s, 80s, 90s. A lot of people struggle to go for a job. They can't get a job, so they go to Claude. And he give Mr. John Bulubuch a job. That business better give that man a job that came with that note from Claude, huh? Or else. I think that was fair in a way, because the objective was helping our people. You know, in the days, many people in the 70s, 80s worked 2 or 3 jobs. Mother Bay, the largest hotel in the northeastern Caribbean, had over 600, 800 workers. At times, sometimes even 900 people employed working at Mother Bay. And for example, in the kitchens, Mother Bay had like 4 or 5 restaurants. Most of the workers came from the French side of the island. And we had other workers from the Caribbean and so forth. But we had a lot of people working. People built their homes. I went to work at Mother Bay as a youngster, 15 years old. I saved my money, and then I paid my way through college by going to America with that money I saved. And then I came back to St. Martin, and I went to work at Mother Bay as a manager. Now, many people in St. Martin, many families built their homes, people took care of their family through that huge company that went belly up after Hurricane Lewis in 1995, September of 1995, and never came back. But St. Martin is booming. It is booming. But I was born in St. Martin. I understand the struggles of the people. This is a beautiful island. I look out the window where I am right here. I'm overlooking a beautiful Simpson Bay Lagoon with mega yachts, some worth millions of dollars. Everyone wants to come to St. Martin. And still I see families struggling. And that happens all over the world. And I'm not trying to be negative here, but this is a beautiful island. This is the best place in the world. There's no place like St. Martin. St. Martin is the best place in the world. I love this island. I don't want to go anywhere else. When most of my brothers and sisters decided to stay in America, I went to America and studied, and I came back to St. Martin because I love St. Martin. I've given my life for St. Martin. The struggles of doing this television program, and at times angering politicians. Oh, I've had attempts on my life, you name it, anything you could think about. I've been under surveillance by government, etc. A whole lot of things. It didn't stop me at all, because I believe in St. Martin. I believe in the people of St. Martin. But the thing here is that when Claude was in power, we had one man. He was the man. You had Joe, Rennie, and Ralph. Ralph was the governor, Rennie and Joe commissioners. The three Richardsons ran St. Martin, did a remarkable job in St. Martin, those three gentlemen. But in the end, Claude was a powerful politician. Make no doubt about it. Okay? And you had Clem LeBega, who was behind the scene also, very quiet but effective. But after 10-10-10, everything changed. I'm going to shock you when I say sometimes it's better to have a dictator. And Claude was not a dictator, but people say he was. But he was always elected by the people. He never held a gun to the head. He never threatened anyone to vote for him. I mean, if you didn't vote for him, he'd be upset. That's normal, that's human nature. But he never threatened anyone. Got elected all the time. Now, October 10, 2010, everything changed. Even if Claude was in power, he would not be powerful anymore. Why? Because now we had Parliament. And we had 15, that's right, 15 people elected to the Parliament of St. Martin. And let me tell you, those 15 people, each is a powerhouse on their own. Because there was a time when we had elections that if you go on the list, you didn't get elected on the number of votes that you got. You got elected on your position on the list. So if you was number 3, right, and you got only 3 votes, you were still going to office. Not after Lynch changed the law. Everything went downhill from there because everyone was campaigning, every man for himself. Every man for himself. Doesn't matter what, every man and woman for themselves. And today we are seeing the destruction of that, what that has done to St. Martin. You say, yes, it's democracy. But it's the way. You see, we only have, 12 years now as this so-called country in the kingdom, which I don't like the term at all, but that's what they call it, country in the kingdom. We're a colony. We are plain and simple a colony. I know my good friend, Deputy Governor Crudwell, don't like to hear that. He was here this last week, and he was speaking about that, and I didn't say anything because I'm older now. I don't try to get in arguments with people, and I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not going to argue with a lawyer, because believe me, you argue with a lawyer, you can't win. I know because I have one in the house, you can never win. They always win. So I'm not going to argue with him. But we are a colony. Let's be straight about that one. All right? And the thing is, when you look at St. Martin now, 50 members in Parliament, they're strong. Man, they're strong. And sometimes they have their minister. You have the Council of Ministers. The Council of Ministers, what 7 ministers? And they run the government, right? So think about it. You have 15, plus it's 20, so that's what, 22, 23, anyway. In powerful individuals, no longer the one man, powerful man, who could tell a business, you come to my country, you gotta employ my people. You come to invest in my country, you have to give something back to the community. Now we have 50 members of Parliament and the Council of Ministers, and I'm not going to say what I hear behind closed doors. But it's not nice. And we have some good people. They're all not bad. They're good ministers and they're good members of Parliament. But they're also bad ministers and bad members of Parliament. And it hurts this island tremendously. Because now the balance of power lies in the hand of 15 people, plus the Council of Ministers, and they have no real power. Their power is only what they can get for themselves. And if you're offended when I say this, I don't mean to offend you, but that's a fact. What they can get for themselves, first and foremost, their friends and their family, and maybe whatever left of the crumbs will come to you. That is what St. Martin has become. This very beautiful, beautiful island that everyone from all over the world wants to come and enjoy. And when you look at the internal operations of this, you come to St. Martin, it's beautiful. But when you go behind the curtain, you see the ugly face of St. Martin, the pain and the suffering. And sometimes I wonder, what's going on? Why is it that those that we put in power can't see it, don't understand it, and trying to improve the lives of our own people? The other issue we have is that many of our elected politicians have limited amount of education, and there's this fear of educated people. Before 10-10-10, St. Martin was crazy, asking for all kinds of professionals. And when we get them, and if they're from St. Martin, if they're born in St. Martin or come from St. Martin parents, they're enemy number one. That's right, enemy number one. So you get doctors, lawyers, engineers that don't want to come back to St. Martin. The very people we need to help build this country in the kingdom are the same people we drive away. And then we say we have capacity problems. It's not an issue of capacity problem we have a problem of not giving our own a chance to work in their own country. And what I say is that every year we have students go to Holland, and what happened? They board the plane and they're going into exile, never to return. And we're just importing people from all over the world. They come, they become wealthy, build their home, enjoy this island, and the people of St. Martin are left on the side of the road. You know, you can't build a country like that when your people are left out. I've met a number of people over the past months, and there's a common complaint. I don't feel like I'm in my own country. Others make me feel like I'm outsider. How could that be? How can you be from St. Martin, born in St. Martin, and feel like that? Look at the people in Ukraine. Look at the people in Ukraine. They're fighting a Goliath. Russia. Men, women, children, old people, everybody. Because they love their country. You see, the government loves them, and they love their country, and they know that the government will be there for them. And when I hear my good friend Christopher Emmanuel, independent member of Parliament, say, yeah, he's not going to die for St. Martin. He's not going to die for St. Martin. And I always say, I will die for St. Martin, because I love St. Martin. But I start to think and wonder, maybe Christopher is right. Maybe MP Emmanuel knows something that I don't know. You know? I'm one of the dumb A's, like Rolanda would say, you know. But you know what? I still love St. Martin. I love this island. But I want to know if I shouldn't adopt MP Emmanuel's position that he's not going to die for St. Martin. And then I smiled because I met a guy the other day. He said, Oral Gibbes, I heard what you said a few months ago, and that's true because I made the same statement a few months ago on Oral Gibbes Live. That time it was live, not streaming, but live on television, cable TV. And I said, Christopher Emmanuel was right. I didn't die for St. Martin. Here you had a guy like me who dedicated his entire life to this island, who said on numerous occasions, I will die for St. Martin. Now I don't know. I don't know. You can't die for something who don't want you. You can't die for something where your government don't care about you. You can't die for a place where others are benefiting in every way except to you. You know? There are people suffering, struggling in St. Martin now. The government is short of cash. The government is handing out again to the Dutch government. And in that process, what they're doing is they're hunting down every man, woman, and child from St. Martin. Read my lips. The government of St. Martin is hunting down every man, woman, and child from St. Martin for taxes. And if you don't have that money, you're in trouble. And you look around, the place is booming. Everyday business open up. The government doesn't have any money. How could that be? That the government doesn't have any money? With all these business opening up. But they're hunting down the average person. They're hunting down seniors for money. So there you have all these problems. And still, I say, I love St. Martin. This is the best place in the world. There's no place like St. Martin. We just have to work and make it better. So over the years of doing television, I've done thousands of shows, thousands. Okay, I've done thousands of television interviews. I can understand this island and appreciate the people. We are some of the best people in the world. The real, true St. Martin people are really friendly. They didn't call us a friendly island for anything, just like that, by accident. Real, true St. Martin family are very, very friendly people. They'll take you in. They'll tell you, take the bed, and they'll sleep on the floor. They'll give you the last dollar or the last meal. That is what we are as a people. And it hurts me that to see that we're slowly, slowly drifting away, slowly losing out. And that's why I said earlier, look at the people in Ukraine. They know that Russia is bigger and more powerful than them. But they're not afraid to stand up and fight. They're not afraid to die for their country. We here, we're not going to die for our country. Our politicians are not going to die for a country. And as the guy said, so then why should I die for my country if the politician don't want to die for the country? I'll ask Christopher that next time. But you see, if you benefit from St. Martin, you should die for St. Martin, but you're not going to, right? It's as simple as that. I'm looking at my clock and it's almost all the time. But again, I really want to thank you all for watching, and I open the lines just for one call with Mr. Richardson. And you know, it's amazing. 38 years of television is a long time. Speaking of Everything is the longest television program in the history of St. Martin. 38 consecutive years. I know sometimes people don't like to hear me say that because we don't believe in ourselves. And that's why people question me, you're still there? I have video of the first show I ever did. I have pictures of the first show I ever did. Other people say they're in television for 30 years, but they can't show you the first show they did. I have the first show from Speaking About a Thing, 1st of March 1984, and I have the first show of Oral Gibbes Live, 1989, March. And I tell you, later on in the year, I'll show them to you again. But I want to thank the people of St. Martin for standing strong with me, for supporting me and my family. You know, this business would not be possible without the Wendell Allen Bank and GBE. Thank you for your support. And thanks to all the other sponsors over the last 38 years who supported us. And we hope that some of you will come back and support us again as we try to bring information, education, and entertainment to the people of St. Martin. I want to thank my wife. My wife she's just a remarkable lady. You know, she worked real hard with me over the years. I met my wife after, 2 years after it started. 2 years, yeah. A little less than 2 years after I started Speaking About Everything. And she's been very supportive, always there with me. And I just couldn't do it without her. So I want to thank my wife, my family for the support. Thank everyone that make it possible. The people that are working now with me in trying to get the radio station, and hopefully we're running some tests. I can hear them over in the other room. Soon that we will be jamming. We're going to be jamming. That's right. After more than 20 years, 99.9 power, hot FM radio. It's going to be there. So again, thank you all for watching, and see you next time. Until then, good night. Take care. Bye.